Hey guys, I'm Madi. I'm an ambassador for Trish Trash. Today I have with me Brooke and Jill. We all go to Center College in Danville, Kentucky, Roll Kearns, and we're just going to be talking about how we can make a better impact on our earth and recycling initiatives that you can do in college or at home, or just basic things that you can do on an everyday basis to make recycling easier and to become more informed about it. So go ahead, Brooke.
Hi everybody, I'm Brooke. I'm also an ambassador for Trish Trash. So as Trish Trash, what we are, we're basically just a nonprofit organization where we are working on incentivizing recycling. So we're looking for ways that we can make everyone more involved with recycling and more connected to this planet. We've been thinking about some really cool ways on how we can get this in college campuses and really just anybody in our generation's lives. Take it away, Jill.
Hey everybody, I'm Jill, and I'm also an ambassador for Trish Trash. I am also the videographer, so that's pretty cool. After joining the Trish Trash team, I've learned a lot about recycling, and I'm excited to learn so much more. And now you guys can too.
Okay, so I guess we can just get started on how we think, what the basis is right now in colleges around the country regarding recycling and our concerns about that. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about it a little bit in the team and with our group, but one thing that we've been noticing recently is just how many recyclable products that college students use and people our age use, especially when you're, in a dorm room and things like that, as well as on campus and being social with your friends. I know that we use a lot of cans and things that can be recycled, as well as maybe plastics and things that should be recycled that aren't making it there, as well as paper. I mean, we're using a lot of paper as students, so really just using what we have to put it into recycling and not just being mindless about it and throwing all these things away.
Yeah, I think weeks at Center, I think there's it's pretty good at recycling, but there also is room for growth. I know there's a lot of recycling rooms and recycling bins inside each dorm, but the thing is I didn't even know it existed, and I know a lot of people don't know that it exists, so I think awareness would be a really important thing. And then also, on the weekends, and like Brooke said earlier, we just go through a lot of different things that are recyclable, and unfortunately most of the time it doesn't end up in there because no one really knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's also interesting, especially in Danville, there's a lot of things that normally would be recyclable but isn't. And I don't think that very many people are necessarily aware of what you can recycle in your area, rather than just a basis of you can recycle plastic, you can recycle paper, you can recycle aluminum. There's different pieces to that, different types of plastics. I know in Danville it has to be in a bottle form. So any of cartons you can't recycle. So just things like that, knowing what you can actually recycle, I think is really important too.
Yeah, I think getting the word out and really just educating students, because I know that might not be something that they've done in their home before college, and when they get there, they don't necessarily know what there is to recycle. So I think starting off just by educating everybody, maybe with banners or things on the wall, especially by the trash and the recycling cans, because I definitely didn't know what was recyclable in Danville versus Lexington, where I'm from originally. So that was kind of a transition, because not as much things are recyclable in Danville, and it is a little bit more difficult to put those things where they need to go. But I think starting off by just putting things up that are going to educate students on what exactly they can recycle and just being more positive about it will be a really good first step.
Yeah. Didn't you put up signs all around the dorms and everything?
Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
We had a class project that we had to do, and it was researching, I think, some initiative that was going on in the world. And so we chose the recycling initiative, and we had to do it kind of locally. So we chose to just make banners, and we checked the garbage cans and stuff before we put up the banners, and then we checked it after, and it seemed to be different. There was less recyclables in the trash, not necessarily more recyclables, but there wasn't as much stuff in the trash that was able to be recycled.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a great way to just get the idea a little bit more dominant on our campus. Like I was saying, like I really just think that students don't know what can and cannot be recycled, and just making that conscious decision when you walk over to throw something away and you see a recycling on one side or a trash on the other, and being able to know, okay, is this even recyclable? Can I even put this in here? And once you know that, I think that's just going to lead to more people being more cognizant about what they are throwing in the trash and what they are recycling.
Yeah. I know a lot of people say, like, well, how do I know it's even being recycled? Because you actually don't ever know. But so how do you guys feel about that? Like that kind of excuse, I guess, to not recycle?
Yeah, for me, I don't really know much about it, like, before I joined the Trish Trash team, and so I just assumed, like, oh, everything gets recycled. And I know that's not always the case, because a lot of, like, people are putting, like, for example, like, there's food with their recycling, or they haven't, like, cleaned out their, I don't know,
Their
water bottles, and so it's, like, again, with the knowledge thing, like, if you don't know that, most of the time, it's not going to be recycled if it's not recycled correctly. And I remember whenever I first started recycling, I had to Google, like, what the numbers mean and, like, which numbers can be in recycling. And it's a lot about, like, it's a big learning curve, too, because recycling takes a lot of knowledge to do.
Yeah, and I would say, like, that information I don't think is easily accessible is the issue. Because it's just basic information, but it's just not accessible anywhere that would make somebody want to learn more about it.
Yeah, that's kind of something that I was a little more frustrated about when we first were at Center, because they don't tell you, yeah, this is the recycling, and we take this to the Danville recycling once a week or whatever. So make sure by Friday afternoon, all of your stuff is in there, because we're going to take it. And so sometimes, we see it pile up in the recycling bins in the trash room, and it's like, okay, is this actually getting taken out? Like, is this everything in there actually recyclable? And I think it's definitely frustrating at first, but just after talking to some of our maintenance people and seeing that they actually are taking it and seeing that it is getting taken out and removed, it does make me a little more hopeful that it is getting recycled. But I know that there isn't much on the campus to be recycled anyways, because a lot of stuff isn't making it to the recycling. But I think that's definitely somewhere where we can get better and maybe really push just educating all of the students and the workers, like, hey, we want you to take, like, if this is something you can do, please help us to make this earth better, because this is something that if we want to do this, we would have to go out of our way to take it to the recycling places. So if that's something that they can do and increase, that'd be great to get on their radar.
I think a school plays a big part. I remember when COVID first hit, we had to get those to-go boxes, remember? And it was like paper, and it's like, it would just be like, or like utensils, like things like that could probably be easily recycled if you, like, just cleaned it out. And most of the time it all ended up in the trash. So I think just the school being like, oh yeah, like, you can recycle this, like, don't just throw it away in the trash. It would make a big
Well, it was interesting because during COVID we weren't doing recycling at Center at all. It was shut down. It was just trash. So it's like, and there's a lot of people that don't even know that they're starting recycling again at Center. So I don't know. It's definitely, I feel like Center is not very eco-friendly, but I think they're doing certain things like the LED certification for all the buildings and stuff. But just, I don't know if the recycling is made as big of a deal as it should be in general.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on top of recycling is just making overall better eco-friendly choices on top of trash and recycling. Carrying a reusable water bottle, like plastic water bottles are very convenient in a dorm, but there's also water bottle fillers in every single building, if not multiple of them. And so when I see people carrying plastic water bottles to class, I'm like, all right, you could use a reusable water bottle and be saving, and it does count the number on there. It says you've saved this many water bottles. So I think that's obviously a great thing to have on campus. I use it all the time. I know multiple students use that very often, but also making other better eco-friendly choices on top of recycling, where if maybe we're lacking a little bit in that side of things, we can maybe make up for it in some other ways too.
So what are some ways that you think we could, like, implement initiatives throughout the college campus? I know that me and Brooke have talked about, after a weekend, how many whoever brings the most cans to us and for recycling gets a Starbucks gift card. I bet you a lot of people would get some cans. And so just like stuff like that, I mean, it's not really hard. Obviously, nobody wants to dig through the trash to get the cans, the next morning. But even just standing by the trash can that weekend and just saying, here's a recycling bin, because at all the events I've went to, it's always been, it's not that people don't want to recycle, it's that it's an inconvenience to them.
Yeah.
So they don't want to walk an extra 6 feet. They don't want to make sure their drink is washed out. So I think that's like a big thing.
Yeah. I think that the inconvenience of it on the campus, especially on social life aspect, is one of the hardest parts. But I do think that maybe on top, kind of like the incentive thing, let's put this recycling can in each social house aspect of it and say, all right, after a month, like, how full can you get this recycling can to be? Because I'm sure on top of just having events at places, people live there too. Like, it's kind of like the dorms, we could implement one recycling bin per floor of the dorm, and at the end of whatever set time, have some sort of gift card or something like that, an incentive where we can do that. And something else that I know we've talked about is maybe figuring out a way, if the recycling isn't getting taken as often as we want it to, is maybe like having a designated person every other week or every 2 weeks that will take 15, 20 minutes out of their day to load all of the recycling up, maybe in a truck or their car, and take it to the local location in Danville. And maybe that could also lead to getting an incentive as well, such as a gift card or something like that, just to get people more involved with things and help to make it a quicker turnaround than just relying on the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another idea would be either how there's a lot of weekend events, on campus, and have the head of events for each, event place to have recycling bins just outside their event, and just be okay, do this and do that, and have an incentive by the head of all the events, and be we need to make sure it's recycled. We need to somehow just guide people to put their cans, their bottles, whatever, into the recycling bin rather than the trash can.
Yeah.
And there's probably hundreds. I probably couldn't even tell you how many things.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be at least more than 1,000, probably. I mean, most people on campus are having more than one drink that night or over the weekend, so I think that would be really interesting to see. But then it's also hard because it's if they do it wrong, then the whole entire batch is messed up.
Yeah.
So it's it's really hard, because say you put a recycling bin outside the area and somebody throws food in it, and now it's, I don't want to wash the dirty food off of cans or whatever else is going to be in the trash. So, yeah, I don't know. But I think it would be definitely interesting to see, like you said, make it, I mean, even a fraternity and sorority thing or a dorm thing, who can recycle the most, and whoever recycles the most can get entered in a $20 gift card of your choice or something. And I think people would be more into doing that for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's something that people our age need to be aware of and be the ones really pushing it. But I think we could definitely get some backup from administration and those types of people on campus, because we can do as much as we try to do. We can implement this, implement that, bring Trish Trash to campus, make a recycling club, things like that. But as soon as you get a little backup from someone who has a little bit more emphasis on what goes on campus, I think that would be something that would really start to show students that everyone does care about this. This isn't something that, a handful of students on campus care about this, let's all push to be better. It's everyone on campus cares about this, and they want this to become a more eco-friendly campus, and posting on social medias and flyers, and just being as open and honest about it, and just promoting it as much as we can, because once we get everyone on board with things like that, it'll just soar and take off, and it'll help a lot when we see other people that are usually making decisions on campus putting their 2 cents in about this.
Yeah, I think just what you said, having a lot of people, there's power in numbers. And I mean, I didn't know much about recycling, and then I became friends with you all, and I was like, so like, how do you do this? And then now I started doing it. So I think like if we can start like nudging, it'll do like a little domino effect, and I think more and more people will start to do it. So awareness for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like we've all said before, like it's not that recycling isn't cool or like, you know, it's nobody cares about the earth. I mean, especially at Center, at a liberal arts school, like people are probably have taken environmental studies class or have talked about it in at least one of the classes that they've taken. And I think that we know that it's like a big deal. I just don't think that it's easy to access. And then especially when like for us, like a student athlete, and you're like have a lot of stuff to do, like sometimes recycling or starting a recycling initiative isn't really on your priority list at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's when administration needs to step in and make it more accessible to everybody rather than, you know, the students trying to take time out of their already busy day.
Yeah. I think the biggest part is just making that conscious decision of, okay, am I going to recycle this and take that extra blah, blah time out of my day? Because like you said, we are so busy, especially being student athletes, like traveling on the weekends on the bus and getting to-go boxes of food and then putting them in trash cans when they could be recycled. But just the convenience of the recycling not being around, whether it's on the bus or on the places that we're stopping at, the water bottles, the Gatorade bottles, all of that stuff that could be recycled, but convenience of it just isn't there yet. And that's definitely something that we could improve on getting the word out about, is just how can you all help us to do this more? Like, we need help from you all, from coaches, teachers, administrators, whatever it is, things like that, because when we all work together and maybe they have a way that can make it more accessible than what we can do on our own, I think that just making it more convenient will significantly increase the amount of things that get recycled. Because truly, as a student, the hardest choice is just being like, okay, what's more convenient? Okay, there's not a recycling can until I get back from this 10-hour bus drive to campus. Let me just stash all my recycling over here on the side of my little seat on the bus, and then I'll take it off when we get back at 9 p.m. after a long weekend and I have 15 pounds of other bags to carry.
Yeah. That would be interesting to see, even because I remember on some of the trips, I would just start stuffing everybody's plastic water bottles in my backpack. Yeah. And I would come back and it was like, wow, I literally have like at least 15 plastic water bottles and I only gathered them for like 10 minutes. And so even like doing that and then coming back and taking a picture of that and posting it on Center Athletics, this is how much water and Gatorade and all the recyclable things we used as a 20-person team for 2 days. Yeah. So maybe we should think about this. You know, what are you buying your team? Can you just buy them reusable water bottles at the beginning of the season that you can fill up? Stuff like that. Or if you do have to buy plastic water bottles, because obviously there's not a water filler on the bus, like recycle them. Like, it's okay to have the convenience sometimes of using a plastic water bottle. I get it. Just make sure you recycle it.
Yeah, I think a really cool aspect that we could try to implement maybe in this upcoming school year would be getting our canvas Trish trash, like reusable bags that we use to collect trash and recycling, and maybe just putting like a branded thing for each team, like, okay, women's lacrosse, football, whatever it is, onto the bag, and then, you know, depending on the size of the team, maybe more than one bag. And, you know, when they go on the away trips, they just maybe like tie it up at the front of the bus where they would tie a plastic trash can bag, and make a way that we could also try to do an incentive with that, with like, how much can you get into those reusable recycling bags, and when you get back, just making sure that they make it to the recycling. And that alone would make such a big difference. Then, like you said, it piles up. Like, so many water bottles and Gatorade bottles and everything just piles up. And just maybe starting at our level. You know, we can't do it to the whole school. We can't be an ambassador to every single person on campus, but being part of the athletic student body, like telling athletes, like, look, we're responsible. We're all responsible. We do a lot of things, and this is just one small adjustment that all of us can make in our lives that would be so much better for all of our futures. So I think that'd be actually really fun to do, and maybe even posting it and getting on like our volleyball Instagram and maybe trying to spread the word about that. I think would be super awesome.
It'd also be easier to spread the word too, because the athletic director could just tell the coaches, and the coaches can tell the team. It's like very quick to do.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys learned a lot. I know that sometimes it's inconvenient, but there's plenty of ways that you can implement recycling into your life. And we hope that we can bring that information to you and how to make it easier, and also how to spread the word to other people. Eventually, we'll have non-college students on here so you can learn from a different perspective. But we hope you had a good time with us today.
Okay, so for more information, visit us online at trishtrash.world. We're also on social medias. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're even starting up our TikTok to make some fun videos for you guys. Just reach out if you have any questions. All of our info is on there, and we would love to see you all become Trish Trashers with us.
Trish Trash!
That's cute.